Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you come across this. Today we're going to be getting into Occult Secrets of Vril by Robert Sepehr. All right, we're just going to jump right in. Introduction. Is mankind on the threshold of a new age of enlightenment? Or are we descending a dwindling spiral doomed to repeat the lessons from history which we either forgot or never seem to learn? In pre-World War II Germany, the Vril Society used the swastika emblem to link Eastern and Western occultism. They advanced the idea of a subterranean matriarchal utopia ruled by a race of Aryan beings who had mastered a mysterious force called Vril. This breakaway civilization had survived the antediluvian cataclysms which ended the Ice Age and passed on their guarded occult knowledge through initiation into sacred mystery schools. Vril was known to these mystics as a natural and abundant energy, having disseminated its divine wisdom worldwide under many names. The Chinese referred to it as Qi, the Hindu as prana, and the Japanese as Reiki. Albert Pike said, quote, "There is in nature one most potent force, by means whereof a single man, who could possess himself of it, and should know how to direct it, could revolutionize and change the face of the world." End quote. Helena Blavatsky, the foundress of the Theosophical Society, described this Vril energy as an aether stream that could be transformed into a physical force. What are the occult secrets of Vril? Chapter 1. A growing number of independent researchers believe that the world's fascination with nuclear war is just the latest episode in a series of tragedies that humanity seems intent on repeating. Hindu tales speak of swift-flying craft called vimanas. Vimanas were flying palaces or chariots and were said to have the ability to deliver explosives at very high altitude and speed. Sir Monier Williams, 1819 to 1899, was the second Bowdoin Professor of Sanskrit at Oxford University, England. He defines Vimana as a car or chariot of the gods, any mythical self-moving aerial car, sometimes serving as a seat or throne, sometimes self-moving and carrying its occupant through the air. Other descriptions make the Vimana more like a house or palace, and one kind is said to be 7 stories high, and quotes the Pushpaka Vimana of Ravana as an example. In some modern Indian languages like Hindi, Vimana means aircraft. For example, in the town name Vimanapura, a suburb of Bangalore, I'm not sure, in in the Mahabharata, the Asura Maya had a Vimana with 4 strong wheels, which measured 12 cubits in circumference. The Ramayana describes the Pushpaka, flowery Vimana of Ravana as follows. Quote, "The Pushpaka Vimana that resembles the sun and belongs to my brother was brought by the powerful Ravana, that aerial and excellent Vimana going everywhere at will, that chariot resembling a bright cloud in the sky, and the king, Roma, got in, and the excellent chariot at the command of the Raghira rose up into the higher atmosphere." And then there's a picture here. Depiction of a prehistoric flying machine called Vimana. Ancient Indo-Aryan texts describe great epic wars, and they have made a tremendous impression on generations. These armies used weapons that, as bizarre as it sounds, could literally level the land, like a moving force field. Ancient Indian texts contain classifications of words that stretch the imagination for certain measurements of length. There is one word for the distance of light years and another for the length of an atom. It has been argued that only a society that possessed direct knowledge of nuclear war would have the need for such nomenclature. So we've got a picture of Robert Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein here, and we're getting ready to read a bit about that. Robert Oppenheimer, 1904 to 1967, was a Jewish-American theoretical physicist, best known as the scientific director of the Manhattan Project. The effort to develop, during World War II, the first nuclear weapons. He is often remembered as the father of the atomic bomb, having worked closely with Albert Einstein. After witnessing the first nuclear explosion at the Trinity test site on July 16, 1945, Oppenheimer remarked that it brought to his mind words from chapter 11, verse 32 of the Bhagavad Gita, saying, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Here's a picture of the atomic bomb. Some researchers claim the vast empty deserts on a number of continents today are the possible result of prehistoric nuclear warfare. In fact, Aryan sacred writings are full of descriptions which sound like atomic explosions and fallout, as experienced by helpless victims in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. When asked during an interview by a student, "How do you feel after having exploded the first atomic bomb?" Robert Oppenheimer replied simply and directly, "Not first atomic bomb in modern times." Professor Oppenheimer strongly held the conviction that radioactive weapons were detonated in ancient warfare, as recorded in the old scriptures. What made him believe that these were nuclear battles were the eerily accurate descriptions of the weapons and their effects as used in the wars described in the epic Vedic literature, or Vedic. Hey, M. Gill, welcome in. Absolutely. Kimba, so good to see you. Welcome in, girl. These descriptions match closely with witness testimonial descriptions of modern nuclear detonations. A description of the total destructive power of these weapons appear in the Ramayana, which reads, "It was a weapon so powerful that it could destroy the earth in an instant. A great soaring sound and smoke and flames, and on it sits death." The Ramayana, attributed to the poet Valmiki, has written during the 1st century AD, although it is based on oral traditions that go back 6 or 7 centuries earlier. Here's a picture of a temple relief at the Ellora Caves in India. Voy, welcome. It's so good to see you, man. Happy Tuesday, dude. Further examples of possible atomic battles in ancient times appear in the Drona Parva, a section of the Mahabharata, if that's how you say it. The passage tells of fierce combat where explosions of final weapons decimate entire armies, causing crowds of warriors with steeds, elephants, and weapons to be carried away as if they were the dry leaves of trees. The Mahabharata attributed to the sage Vyasa, was written down from 540 to 300 BC and tells the legends of the Bharatas, a Vedic Aryan group. It has been suggested that Oppenheimer was referring to the Brahmastra weapon mentioned in these Vedic texts. Consider these verses from the ancient Mahabharata. A Gurkha, flying a swift and powerful Vimana, which is a fast aircraft, hurled a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as the 1,000 suns arose in all its splendor. A perpendicular explosion with its billowing smoke clouds, the cloud of smoke rising after its first explosion formed into expanding round circles like the opening of giant parasols. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Andhakas. The corpses were so burned as to be unrecognizable. The hair and nails fell out, pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from this fire, the soldiers threw themselves in streams to wash themselves and their equipment. Dense arrows of flame, like a great shower, issued forth, encompassing the enemy. A thick gloom swiftly settled upon the hosts. All points of the compass were lost in darkness. Fierce wind began to blow upward, showering dust and gravel. Birds croaked madly. The very elements seemed disturbed. The earth shook, scorched by the terrible violent heat of this weapon. Elephants burst into flame and ran to and fro in a frenzy over the vast area. Other animals crumpled to the ground and died. From all points of the compass, the arrows of flame rained continuously and fiercely. Whoa. Man. It'd be cool if we learned about this stuff in school. I mean, this is Earth School, but I just mean traditional school. All right. So, although Oppenheimer never formally converted to any other religion and never referred to himself as a Hindu, the ancient Aryan Vedic philosophy did influence him greatly. He never openly prayed to any deities, nor went to a mandir, which is a Hindu temple, Mandir. He was never a follower in a devotional sense, but he did take lessons in Sanskrit so he could better understand the Bhagad every time, right? Oh, bollocks. It's got to be on two. Okay. Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita in its native tongue. His brother said that Oppenheimer found the Bhagavad Gita very easy and quite marvelous, and was really taken by the charm and the general wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Did I say it wrong that time? Bollocks, dude! Okay, Robert Oppenheimer was also famously quoted in saying that access to the Vedas, or the Vedas, is the greatest privilege this century may claim over all previous centuries. There's a picture down here. It says glass scarab in King Tut's pendant. Oh, wrong way. Here we go. Thank you, M. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. I've imagined reading that one here. Maybe one day. In 1996, Vincenzo de Michele, an Italian mineralogist, spotted an unusual yellow-green gem in the middle of one of Tutankhamun's necklaces. This beautiful scarab at the center of King Tut's pendant was tested and found to be glass, but it turned out to be much older than the earliest Egyptian civilization. The fission track dates of the glass indicate that it is at least 28 million years old. Wow. Geologists traced its origins to unexplained chunks of glass called Libyan desert glass, found scattered in the sand in a remote region of the Sahara Desert. The glass itself, however, is a scientific enigma. How did it get to be there, and who or what made it? Libyan desert glass. Oh man, it would be really cool if Robert Sepehr, if he produced these books with color pictures. But I'm thankful that it's here at all, right? Libyan desert glass, LDG. Libyan desert glass is a natural glass made of silica or silicon dioxide and easily found. It is dispersed along the Libyan desert, scattered throughout the western desert of West Egypt by the Libyan-Egyptian border. The glass is a form of tektite, a word which comes from the Greek word tektos, meaning molten. Sweet! Scientists say the glass in this region is the largest known deposit of a natural silica glass on the planet Earth, about 98% silicon oxide. Wait, is that the one? Maybe silicon dioxide. SiO2. Okay, the transparent and sometimes translucent pieces are clear to opaque, white or yellow to green in color, and they glitter like gems in the bright desert sun. They vary in size from small pieces to large chunks weighing over 20 pounds. The glass was known to the ancient Egyptians, who called it the rock of God, while it was even known to prehistoric people, as it was used for Paleolithic tools, such as sharp blades, dating to about 10,000 years ago. An Austrian astrochemist, Christian Koberl, established that desert glass had been formed at a temperature so hot that there could be only one known cause to account for the tremendous heat: a meteorite impacting the Earth. Yet there were no visible signs of a suitable impact crater where this glass is located, even in satellite images. Another explanation is that the heat that formed the desert glass had a terrestrial source, one that included atomic war, using weapons capable of melting sand. In his book, The Wars of Gods and Men, I should know how to say his name. Zechariah Sitchin, I think, puts forward this alternative high-tech explanation for the sudden extreme heat. Sitchin, a strong proponent for advanced ancient civilizations with sophisticated technology, describes what the Greeks wrote down concerning the battle between Zeus and the Titans. Quote, "The hot vapor lapped around the Titans of Gaia born. Flame unspeakable rose bright to the upper air. The flashing glare of the thunderstone, its lightning, blinding their eyes, so strong it was. Astounding heat seized chaos. It seemed as if earth and wide heaven above had come together, a mighty crash, as though earth was hurled in ruin. Also the winds brought rumbling earthquake and dust storms, thunder and lightning," end quote. He argues that the abrupt end to some ancient civilizations in our mythologies may have been based on real events, cataclysms due to the prehistoric use of nuclear weaponry. In this verse, Zeus is conquering Typhon. Quote, "A flame shot forth from the stricken lord in the dim, rugged, secluded valley of the mount when he was smitten. A great part of huge earth was scorched by the terrible vapor, melting as tin melts when heated by man's art. In the glow of a blazing fire did the earth melt down," end quote. During the First Egyptian Pyramid War, waged between Horus and Seth, the moment Horus strikes, quote, He let loose against them a storm which they could neither see with their eyes nor hear with their ears. It brought death to all of them in a single moment." End quote. The Bible also contains incidents which many research attribute to ancient nuclear warfare, such as the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis 18:27, Abraham looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and he saw a smoke rising from the earth, as smoke of a furnace. Beginning in 1999, archaeologists specializing in the Near East saw mounting empirical evidence that the demise of Sumer and Akkad, or it's Akkad, Akkad, Sumer's northern extension, coincided with an abrupt climate change. An initial study by Henry Weiss and Timothy C. Weskel of Harvard University placed the date at about 4,000 years ago. A subsequent student published in the April 2000 edition of Geology by H.M. Cullen reinforced this finding. Based on studies of unexplained aridity and wind-blown dust storms and radiocarbon dating, they reported that their readings indicated a date of about 4,000 years ago, with about a 100-year margin of error. 7, it's so good to see you, man. AF, Trace, everybody welcome. I love yous. Isn't this juicy? It's so juicy. Wait, I'll drip on my nose. Welcome and good to see you, Gary. Happy Tuesday. And Amber and Jackie. Hey, dudes. I was going to be at Jackie's this day, but my brakes, I had to get them fixed and my bill was real expensive. So now we're looking at the end of March. So far. It's so far. It's nice to have something to look forward to, though. Okay. A major study published in the April 2001 issue of Journal Science, authored by Peter B. Domenical of Columbia University, paid particular attention to sedimentary remains of tephra, which are fragmental material usually attributed to a volcanic eruption, and concluded that the rock fragments confirmed the date of around 2000 BC, also about 4,000 years ago, according to Zechariah Sitchin. Quote, "The only explanation for these broken and blackened stones in the Sinai and the wind-blown desolation in Mesopotamia can be the tale of the era epos, reflected in the biblical tale of Sodom and Gomorrah, not an eruption by a non-existent volcano, but the use of nuclear weapons in 2024 BC. Ooh. All right, so, that was the end quote. The first detonation of an atomic bomb by the United States in New Mexico at the Trinity test site in 1945 created so much heat that it formed a crater of radioactive glass in the desert about 10 feet deep and over 1,000 feet in width. This is the same type of glass that is found in India, Egypt, and many other locations. So this is a picture of the crater made by test of first atomic bomb, Trinity 1945. That way, welcome in. Many in the scientific community believe that the desert glass resulted from a meteorite impact. However, no crater has ever been found. The tremendous heat, pressure, and shock waves from massive meteorite impacts alter the minerals near or directly beneath a meteor impact site. And as a result, they are known as impactites. Okay. Sand melts into impact glass, and rocks get shattered and compressed into breccias, which are broken fragments of rock cemented together. Melted glass and fragments of sediments become embedded in the fine-grained mixture, the cement of the breccias. Yet much of the desert glass is clear of the embedded sediment one would expect to find if it were from a meteor impact. So here's another picture of the Libyan desert glass made of silicon dioxide. And then this picture here, whoa, how do we say that? Tunguska event of 1908. Some scientists propose that a meteor exploded above the ground, leaving no impact crater, yet producing enough heat to melt and glassify the surface material below. This scenario is similar to an airburst event, like the one which is often described in association with the 1908 Tunguska explosion over Siberia. The Tunguska explosion knocked down an estimated 80 million trees over an area of 2,000 square kilometers, or 830 square miles. And if the measurement could have been taken, the shock wave from the blast would have measured 5.0 on the Richter scale. An explosion of this magnitude would be capable of destroying an entire metropolitan city, but due to the remoteness of the Siberian location, there were no documented fatalities. However, man, think about all the animals. However, there are those who say the glass couldn't have been fused from the local exposed sandstone because both the sand and the dunes are not older than 1 million years, while the Libyan desert glass is reported to be over 28 million years old. I think it is fair to say this topic is not yet closed and deserves more serious investigation and debate. Boom. Chapter 2. American attorney, Confederate officer, writer, and Freemason Albert Pike said, quote, "There is in nature one most potent force, by means whereof a single man, who could possess himself of it, and should know how to direct it, could revolutionize and change the face of the world." End quote. In India, such potent energy is equated with prana. Prana is the Sanskrit word for a life force. In Jainism, it also means vital principle. And in Indian medicine, yoga, and martial arts, the term refers to a cosmic energy that permeates all matter. The universal principle of energy or force responsible for the body's life, heat, and maintenance. Prana is the sum total of all energy that is manifest in the universe. While prana is the general name of the life force, the prana vayu is one of its specific functions. In Ayurveda, Tantra, and Tibetan medicine, prana vayu is the basic vayu from which all the other vayus arise. Vayus arise. The word vayu, which is V-A-Y-U, translates literally as wind or air. Connoting, C-O-N-N-O-T-I-N-G, just maybe connotating all-pervading movement. Let's look it up. C-O-N-N-O-T-I-N-G. Okay, let's see here. C-O-N-N-O-T-I-N-G. Definition. Connoting. To suggest or imply in addition to literal meaning. Okay. I wonder how you pronounce it. Sweet. To convey in addition to exact, explicit meaning, all the misery that poverty connotes for her. The word family connotes love and comfort. To imply as a logical connotation. All right, it's related to connotation, connoting. Cool. I hope I'm saying it right. Okay, back to the stream. The word vayu translates literally as wind or air, connoting all-pervading movement. The root va means that which flows. A vayu is a vehicle for activities and experiences within the body, or a force that moves throughout the system, controlling functions such as breathing, digestion, and nerve impulses. In the human body, this universal prana has been said by ancient alchemists to move in specific ways in specific regions in the body, regulating and controlling physical and mental function. Prana is analogous to qi or qi in China. In traditional Chinese culture, qi, also qi or ki, it was originally chi, that's the one I first read, is an active principle forming part of any living thing. Qi is frequently translated as natural energy, life force, or energy flow. Qi is the central underlying principle in traditional Chinese medicine, Taoist philosophy, and martial arts. The literal translation of qi is breath or air. Some believe qi is a separate force from the physical world, while others think qi comes from physical matter. Still others, especially Chinese Buddhists and Taoists, hold that matter arises from qi. The quality, quantity, and balance of qi is believed to be essential to maintaining health and achieving a long life. Livia Cohn, author of Health and Long Life, The Chinese Way, explains it this way. Qi is the basic material of all that exists. It animates life and furnishes functional power of events. Qi is the root of the human body. Its quality and movement determine human health. There is a normal or healthy amount of qi in every person, and health manifests in its balance and harmony, its moderation and smoothness of flow. Interesting. Breath control is considered especially fundamental to balancing the levels of qi in one's body. Controlled and meditative breathing, called it's HS-ING easy for me, called hissing qi, allows qi to permeate the entire body by imagining the breath as a visible universal force or current moving through the body. In Japan, this universal force is called Reiki and is usually discussed in the context of stress reduction, relaxation, and healing. It is administered by laying on hands and is based on the idea that the unseen life force energy flows through all beings and is what causes us to be alive. The word Reiki is made of two Japanese words, Rei, which means God's wisdom or the higher power, and Ki, which is the life force. So Reiki is actually spiritually guided life force energy. Vril is another name of this life force energy that theoretically fills the universe and all living beings. Helena Blavatsky, the foundress of the Theosophical Society, described this Vril energy as an aether stream that could be transformed into a physical force. The Vril Society was a secret organization in Germany devoted to mastering and this unseen force of nature. They accumulated and combined the guarded alchemical knowledge of this life force contained in Sufism, Aryan Hindu mysticism, theosophy, Nordic and Sumerian mythology, pagan sex magic, channeled material, and the Kabbalah. According to esoteric and yoga teachings, sexual energies can be channeled upward to develop our energy centers or chakra system and higher energy bodies. Tantra and Kundalini yoga were two ancient Aryan techniques utilized by the Vril Society to harness this sexual energy. Tantra in ritualized male-female interaction and Kundalini yoga in strict individual practice. Both methods entail semen retention. In the book Morning, M-O-R-N, Morning of the Magicians, author Jacques Bergier and Louis Pauwels say, quote, "The secret society was founded literally on Bulwer Lytton's novel, The Coming Race, 1871. The book describes a race of men physically far in advance of our own. They have acquired powers over themselves and over things that made them almost godlike. For the moment, they are in hiding. They are said to live in caves in the center of the earth. Soon they will emerge to reign over us." Oh my gosh. Hey, DN, welcome. The Vril Society expanded on an ancient archetype that already held the attention of alchemists and magicians, which was merely reinterpreted by Edward Bulwer Lytton in light of that age of occult revival and scientific progress. Lytton himself was an initiate of the Rosicrucian order. In his book, Vril, The Coming Race, the people of the subterranean civilization used their understanding of nature, eco-friendly energy, and Vril technology to operate and govern the world. They, having mastered many physical laws such as gravity, were able to fly on Vril-powered anti-gravity discraft. The vegetarian Vril race are, by their own reckoning, radically and culturally superior to everyone else on Earth, both above and below the surface crust. Lytton's book explains that the race of Vril people are, quote, "descended from the same ancestors of the Aryan family, from which in varied streams has flowed the dominant civilization of the world," end quote. Author J. Berger says of Vril and of Lytton, quote, "Through his romantic works of fiction, he expressed the conviction that there are beings endowed with superhuman powers. These beings will supplant us and bring us about a formidable mutation in the elect of the human race," end quote. After fleeing Germany in 1933, Dr. Willy Ley, one of the world's greatest rocket experts, said, quote, "The Vril Society, which formed shortly before the Nazis came to power, believed they had secret knowledge that would enable them to change their race and become equals of the men hidden in the bowels of the earth. Methods of concentration, a whole system of internal gymnastics by which they would be transformed. These methods of concentration were probably based on Ignatius Loyola's spiritual exercises. The Jesuit techniques of concentration and visualization are similar to many occult teachings, especially in shamanic cults and Tibetan Buddhism. The Nazis revered these Jesuit spiritual exercises, which they believed had been handed down from ancient masters of Atlantis. The occultists of the time knew that Ignatius was a Basque. Some claimed that the Basque people were the last remnant of the Atlantean race, and the proper use of these techniques would enable the reactivation of the Vril for the dominance of the Teutonic race over all others. The Vril Society believed that whoever becomes master of the Vril will be the master of himself, of others around him, and of the world. The belief was that the world will change and the lords will emerge from the center of the earth. Unless we have made an alliance with them and become lords ourselves, we shall find ourselves among the slaves on the dung heap that will nourish the roots of the new cities that will arise, end quote. Wow. Okay, so we got a picture here. John Martin, 1789 to 1854, Pandemonium. The Louvre, isn't that how you say it? The Louvre Museum? Not Louvre. I think it's the Louvre. Okay. This was the psychic force, or universal free energy, behind the paranormal technology that the Nazis and their inner occult circle were so desperately trying to harness. In the book The Unknown Hitler, Wolf Schwarzwaller says, quote, "In Berlin, Haushofer had founded the Luminos Lodge, or the Vril Society. The lodge's objective was to explore the origins of the Aryan race and to perform exercises in concentration to awaken the forces of Vril. Haushofer was a student of the Russian magician and metaphysician George Gurdjieff, Gurdjieff. Both Gurdjieff and Haushofer maintained that they had contacts with secret Tibetan lodges that possessed the secret of the Superman. The lodge included Hitler, Alfred, Rosenberg, Himmler, Göring, and Hitler's subsequent personal physician, Dr. Morell. It is also known that Aleister Crowley and Gurdjieff sought contact with Hitler. Hitler's unusual powers of suggestion became more understandable if one keeps in mind that he had access to the secret psychological techniques of Gurdjieff, which in turn were based on the teachings of the Sufis and the Tibetan lamas, and familiarized him with the Zen teaching of the Japanese Society of the Green Dragon, end quote. In Brad Steger's book, The Rainbow Conspiracy, he summarizes a presentation given by the missing conspiracy researcher Vladimir Terzinsky in the mid-1990s. Quote, in his controversial presentation, UFO Secrets of the Third Reich, Vladimir Terzinsky draws a connection between alien beings and such German secret societies as the Tempelhof, the Thule, that's how you say it, the Thule, and Vril, and the Black Sun. Terzinsky tells of an alien Tudor race that secretly began cooperating with certain German scientists in the late 1920s in underground bases and began to introduce their concepts of philosophical, cultural, and technological progress. With help from extraterrestrial intelligences, Terzinsky postulates the Nazis mastered anti-gravity spaceflight, established space stations, accomplished time travel, and developed their spacecraft to warp speeds. At the same time, the aliens spread their Mephistophelian ideas into the wider German population through the Thule and Vril societies. Terzinsky maintains that anti-gravity research began in Germany in the 1920s with the first hybrid anti-gravity circular craft, the RFZ-1, constructed by the Vril Society. In 1942 to 43, a series of anti-gravity machines culminated in the giant 350-foot-long cigar-shaped Andromeda space station, which was constructed in old Zeppelin hangars near Berlin by E4, the research and development arm of the SS, end quote. So juicy. The Allies confiscated every Nazi document they could find, and most documents are still classified 70 years after the war ended. It is well known that the Nazi elite had some highly classified technology, which was way ahead of their time. If technologically advanced subterranean civilizations do exist, and the Nazis did establish contact with this advanced race, then we would assume that this anti-gravity propulsion, rumored to have been developed by the Nazis, worked on the free energy principles of Vril. So this is an alleged photograph of German disc craft in 1945. After World War II and the occupation of Germany that followed, Allied military commanders were stunned to discover the penetrating depth of the Nazis' closet-guarded state secret. Oh, closest, bollocks. That makes better sense. I'll try that whole sentence again. After World War II and the occupation of Germany that followed, Allied military commanders were stunned to discover the penetrating depth of the Nazis' closest guarded state secrets. The world's best intelligence organization was not the least of these revelations. Also discovered were massive and meticulous research file on the secret societies, metaphysics, genetics, alternative energy, and other scientific pursuits that boggled the imagination of the Allied command. Even more spectacular was an entire web of underground rocket and alternative propulsion factories with an accompanying free energy technology that still defies conventional belief. Here's figure 12. Missing U-boat fleets possessing the most advanced submarine technology in the world left many wondering if the Nazis had escaped with yet more secrets or even with Hitler himself. The SS-E4. Wait a second. Yeah. I said E4, right? Yeah. Was a unit of the Order of the Black Sun, an occult Nazi organization which was tasked with researching alternative energies to make the Third Reich independent of scarce fuel oil for war production. Here's a picture of the German U-boat. Their work included developing alternative energies, fuel sources, and motors, including EMG, or electromagnetic gravitic engines. By 1939, this group developed a revolutionary engine which created powerful rotating electromagnetic fields that affected gravity and reduced mass. It was designated the Thule Trebwork, or Thrustwork, aka Tachyonator 7 Drive, which is Tachyonator, and was to be installed into Vril discraft called Haunebu, which is Haunebu 1 through 4. Nazi occult research also extended into the investigation of paranormal and metaphysical phenomena. They were interested in unlocking the full human potential, which included psychic abilities and the detection and manipulation of etheric energies. Much of this research has been kept from the public after World War II and transferred into black ops projects run by organizations such as the CIA. There were some scientists, however, that managed to study and publish their findings independently. Dr. Wilhelm Reich, 1897 to 1857, or rather 1897 to 1957, was an Austrian-born psychoanalyst noted historically for his work in psychiatry. He said he wanted to attack the neurosis by its prevention rather than treatment. However, Dr. Reich's greatest scientific contributions involved his work in biophysics, which has been almost totally erased from history. So, okay, so these are 1939, 1942, 1945, 1946 different crafts that Haunebu From the 1930s, he became an increasingly controversial figure. From 1932 until his death, all his work was self-published. The controversy began when Dr. Reich began noticing an energetic connection that all living beings held in common. He called this mysterious force orgone energy, or orgone radiation, derived from orgasm or organism, and the study of orgonomy. Dr. Wilhelm Reich. All right, let's get it. Awesome. Keeping it hot. Dr. Reich worked tirelessly for the next 40 years, demonstrating its laws and studying its various manifestations. He published a series of papers on the idea of orgastic potency the ability to release the emotions from the muscles and lose the self in an uninhibited orgasm. He argued that psychic health and the ability to love depended on orgastic potency. He attempted to ground his orgasm theory in biology, exploring whether the libido in fact represented electricity or a chemical substance. Though one cannot see or smell it, his sensitive equipment could measure it. Dr. Reich bought an oscillograph and attached it to friends and students who volunteered to arouse each other while Reich read the tracings. He first said he had discovered a life force or cosmic energy, an extension of Freud's idea of the libido, in New York in 1939. After Reich had demonstrated the properties of orgone energy to Albert Einstein, the famous physicist exclaimed that, quote, "This would be a bombshell to physics," end quote. In 1933, Dr. Reich detailed a biological basis for neurosis in his book, Character Analysis, and provided an outline of his research, which would lead him to the discovery of this Vril-like cosmic energy. Experiments involving microorganisms and airborne infection opened the door to his experiments concerning radiation particles that he later called orgone. Further experiments showed that this ever-present orgone energy would be repelled by metal objects and absorbed by organic material. He created devices to amplify and harness this energy, which were composed of alternate layers of organic wool material and metal. Reich found that he could accumulate, concentrated, and utilize this field of orgone for health benefits of biological organisms. He called these elevator-sized box-shaped devices orgone accumulators. And word got out about the dramatic and positive results he had been getting with human test subjects. Dr. Reich was able to watch orgone in the various forms it would take on within an accumulator, measuring orgone with a thermometer and an electroscope, as well as with a Geiger counter. The forms manifested as a bluish-gray, fog-like foundation, deeply blue-violet luminous dots, or whitish, rapid rays. What Dr. Reich discovered astounded him, and was what appeared, what Dr. Reich discovered astounded him, and was what appeared to be the real energy responsible for the biological, orgiastic pulsation of life on Earth, and possibly the universe. During the course of his varied orgone experiments, he touched upon many aspects of science, including the disciplines of medicine, physics, cosmology, and meteorology. He discovered atmospheric orgone and noticed that, in the presence of pollutants of various kinds, including electromagnetic emissions, the energy would become stagnant and cause illness and environmental damage. To counter the negative effects, Dr. Reich added long pipes to an orgone accumulator device and pointed it skyward to help balance the atmospheric orgone and bring rain. He called this device a cloudbuster. In one experiment, starting in October 1954, Dr. Reich was successful in bringing rain to the desert around Tucson, Arizona. Even before the rain fell, the newly balanced orgone had caused the grass to grow and thrive in the desert. Rather than embracing Dr. Reich's discoveries, the politically motivated scientific authorities responded with levels of anger and derision that bordered on hatred. Dude. In the years to follow, the American government made an attempt to wipe the very word orgone from the English vocabulary by banning the accumulator and destroying Dr. Reich's books and journals, burned by order of the court. After a lengthy harassment campaign by the FDA over the medical use of orgone that began in the mid-40s, Dr. Reich was sentenced to 2 years in prison, where he died serving time for no crimes committed in 1957. That makes me so angry. It's like, Yeah, man, there's no money in healthy people, right? Like, it's like a whole industry and mindset. Like when they, yeah, like when people make engines that run more efficiently and off of steam, and like then they're like buying up all the patents for it and burying them. I just saw about this guy who learned how to use water so that his engine would become like some crazy something like 85 to 90% more efficient, so that he was getting like 100 miles to the gallon. He's disappeared now after he posted that stuff. What? Okay. Where are we at here? 55:36. Okay, we're going to read chapter 3. Behind all of these mysteries was an even deeper element, a secret border known to initiates as the Order of the Black Sun. This organization was so feared that it is now illegal to even print their symbol and insignia in modern Germany. Its roots stem from the Vril Society that began around the same time as the Thule Society, when Karl Haushofer founded the Brüder des Licht, which means Brothers of the Light, sometimes referred to as the Luminous Lodge, whereas the Thule Society ended up focusing primarily upon materialistic and political agendas. The Vril Society put its attention on more metaphysical matters. This group was eventually renamed the Vril Gesellschaft, as it rose in prominence and united three major societies: the Lord of the Black Stone, a Teutonic order, the Black Knights of the Thule Society, and the Black Sun, the elite branch of the SS. When the German secret societies came into being after World War I, the world's leading authorities on archaeology and linguistics, especially regarding ancient Sumer and Babylon, were primarily German. A medium named Maria Osric began getting messages in an unknown language and couldn't transcribe them, so began meeting with key members of these societies along with other mediums. Here's a picture of her. The messages supposedly came from the star system of Aldebaran, an orange giant located about 65 light years away in the zodiac constellation of Taurus, which they believed has 2 planets and were said to exist 2 classes of people: the Aryan or original pure race and a subservient race, which had developed in a negative fashion as a result of mutation from climatic changes likely due to nuclear fallout. From Peter Moon's book, The Black Sun, quote, "A 500 million years ago, the Aryans, Elohim, or elder race, began to colonize our solar system as Aldebarans became uninhabitable. Marduk, existing in what is today the asteroid belt, was the first to be colonized, then Mars. When they came to Earth, these Aryans were known as Sumerians," end quote. This is a picture of Robert Sepehr at Pergamon Museum, Berlin, Germany. Page 33. Compiled by Jan van Helsing, a more detailed summary of the messages the Vril medium had received over the years, and which formed the basis for all further actions by the Vril Gesellschaft. This material is not science fiction, but represents truly what was going on the inner core of occult lodges such as Thule and Vril. It should be emphasized to the reader that even if you don't believe a word of this, that is not the point. They believed it and built at least 2 very complicated secret societies around it, and they became quite powerful and influential. Jan van Helsing relays, quote, The solar system Aldebaran is a sun around which revolve 2 inhabited planets. The population of the Aldebaran system is divided into the original pure race of people, the Aryans, and several other human races that had developed by genetic mutation from the parent population because of climatic changes brought about by nuclear war upon the planets. The more the races intermixed, the lower the spiritual development of these people collectively sank, which led to the situation that when the sun Aldebaran began expanding, they could no longer maintain the space travel technology of their forefathers and could not leave the planets by their own means. The genetically degraded races, totally dependent upon the master race, had to be evacuated and were brought to the other inhabitable planets. They colonized our solar system, starting with the planet Milana, also called Maldek, Marduk, or Phaeton among Russians, that existed at a time between Mars and Jupiter, now occupied by the asteroid belt. Mars was next. Despite their physical and cultural differences, all the races respected one another and did not interfere with each other. Neither the so-called genetically pure people nor the mutated hybrid races. Each respected that the others just made their own developments, in contrast to what happens on Earth. End quote. Members of the Vril Society believed that these ancient astronauts landed on Earth following global cataclysms and upheavals, when the planet became slowly habitable again, reestablishing agricultural civilization in with rivers for irrigation, such as Mesopotamia. They formed the dominant ruling nobility of the Sumerians and various other early societies, governing through an elite bloodline and segregated caste system. Interracial interbreeding, mixing blood, was strictly taboo. Okay, so here's another picture of Robert Sepehr at Pergamon Museum, Berlin, Germany. Okay, Hiroshi Oshima, the former Japanese ambassador to Germany, believed that the noble castes in Japan, the daimyo and the samurai, were also descended from gods of celestial origin, which was similar to the Nazi theory that the Nordic race did not evolve but came directly down from heaven to settle on the Atlantic continent. There was no end quote. Maybe it's not over, even though we're into a new paragraph. Hanuman's tale, as told in the epic Ramayana, is about the Hindu monkey god, one of the most celebrated and worshipped figures in Indian religion. He is also mentioned in several other texts, including Mahabharata, the various Puranas, Puranas, and some Jain texts. According to the Vedas, a godlike race calling themselves Aryans, known historically as serpent worshippers, phallus or fertility cult, or the serpent seed, were agriculturalists that practiced animal husbandry. They eventually began to crossbreed humans with apes or monkeys, producing a hybrid servant or worker. This ancient stone temple frieze depicts the monkey arm, their slave corps, building a bridge of stone. This is the monkey army of Ramayana, Nakhon Ratchasima, Thailand. According to Ovolkish folk beliefs, Aryans had created a high civilization which existed many millennia ago that was destroyed by either the melting of the ice at the end of the last ice age or the onset of the ice age, but probably both. The original home of the Aryans was called Thule, at the northernmost reaches of the earth. the land beyond the northern wind. The term Ultima Thule in medieval geographies denotes any distant northern area located beyond the borders of the known world. Said by Nazi mystics to be the capital of ancient Hyperborea, they placed Ultima Thule in the extreme north, near or below Greenland or Iceland. The Thulists believed in the hollow earth theory, with inhabited underground worlds below the icy surface. That once warm country was flooded and iced over, with the advanced race finding underground sanctuary in massive subterranean caverns. So this photo was taken by Tobert Mahler in the jungles of the Yucatan, a portion of the continuous freeze which surrounded the interior of an underground chamber. Whoa. Is it like a volcano? There's people underwater. Interesting. The melting occurred rapidly during the final stage of the Pleistocene, from approximately 18,000 to 11,000 years ago. During this period, there were several changes between glacier advance and retreat. The maximum extent of glaciation within this last glacial period was approximately 22,000 years ago, when sea levels were 400 feet lower worldwide. The melting glaciers, which once covered Europe, Canada, and large parts of the Earth, were now returning to the ocean and submerging coastlines and islands, forcing the inhabitants to relocate. Their emblem was the swastika. One of the oldest documented prehistoric symbols is perhaps most famously known as the swastika in India, but also the Falfot or Filfot, which is Fylfot in England, the Hakenkreuz in Germany, the Tetragrammaton in Greece, the Wan in China, and the Manji in Japan. In his book 1896, in his 1896 book, The Swastika, the earliest known symbol and its migrations, Thomas Wilson, former curator of the Department of Prehistoric Anthropology and the U.S. National Museum, wrote of the swastika, quote, "The Aryan symbol used by the Aryan peoples before their dispersion throughout Asia and Europe. This is a fair subject for inquiry and might serve as an explanation how, as a sacred symbol, the swastika might have been carried to the different peoples and countries in which we now find it by the splitting up of Aryan peoples and their migrations and establishments in various parts of Europe," end quote. I love you. So that is the last page of this, but look at all of these. So we got Poland, Navajo, Tibet, Peru, Hittite, Thracian, Saxon, Korean, Iran, Russian, Aztec, Ethiopian, Japan, Anasazi, Greece, Sumer, Hopewell, Israel, Armenian, and Apache, all with the swastika. $108. Yeah. I'm actually going to call it here too. I got to go to the bathroom and get some things done today. And I'll be back with this soon. So much info to take in, right? So interesting. So I thank you everyone for joining me today, or whenever you come across this. And yeah, we'll learn some more about this probably tomorrow, but we'll probably finish this book out before weekend. And I'll see you later with some more videos about, you know, the secret language of birthdays and our daily oracle pull. But I sure appreciate everyone. I love you so much, and I'll see you so soon. Take care of yourselves.